Hey everyone, my name is Joel Nevares, and today I want to talk to you all about why I believe fast fashion should be regulated. Um, Fast fashion can harm our planet via pollution and waste. It harms workers through unsafe and exploitative labor, and by choosing sustainable brands, recycling clothing, and buying less, consumers can drastically reduce those negative effects by the fast fashion industry. So, my general purpose today will be to persuade people about the issue of fast fashion by understanding first the environmental damage that it causes, second, the issue with labor and the exploitation in the labor, and third, the solutions to these kinds of issues. So, first, the serious environmental harm caused by fast fashion. Um, it has many negative effects on the environment because of its CO2 emissions, its water pollution, and its textile dye waste, and the microplastics that leak into the environment. And also, recent research has found that it even affects our skin. It can be absorbed into our skin when we wear polyester or nylon, different types of those plastic filling materials. Um, the clothes also tend to be of lower quality. Um, them using these different types of materials that have plastics in them. Of course, you wash them 2 or 3 times and you can already tell that it's not going to last much longer. Um, their lifespan is shorter, so it becomes like a cycle where you buy a basic white t-shirt, and after a few washes it's dingy, it starts to feel rough, you go back to buy another one, you throw that one away because you're not going to go take it to the Salvation Army or to Goodwill because it's not in good condition anymore, and it becomes a cycle. Another thing is the CO2 emissions. The fast fashion industry takes up a total of 10% of the global's total percentage of CO2 emissions per year, which is a huge amount, being that there's so many different industries that also emit carbon. 10% is a lot. There's also about 700,000 microplastic fibers released in a single load of laundry with polyester. That could ultimately end up in our food sources, that ends up in the water, that there's no way to reverse osmosis microplastics out of water. So that ends up in the oceans. We eat the fish, that's us eating it, getting those microplastics in through our bloodstreams another way. So that's all the environmental issues. The second is the labor exploitation. Fast fashion is highly unethical in its labor practices. Many brands like H&M, Forever 21, even Fashion Nova, things like that, they source sweatshops for their manufacturing, which allows them to sell clothes for extremely low prices. Since the suppliers tend to be in underdeveloped countries, they work through contracts where they don't have to abide by laws because they're sourced outside from other countries. It's weird, but yeah, they don't get struck by the laws because they're working elsewhere. So with no laws to adhere to, not only do these people work for inadequate wages, which is 33 to 58 cents a dollar, like in places like Bangladesh and China, but they work 14 to 16-hour days for 7 days a week. And the workplaces also tend to be very unsafe. There was a building in Bangladesh in 2013 that crumbled, just poor building structure. But again, cheap things are being made. It's not like a very profitable warehouse, so it's not a state-of-the-art place or warehouse. It's a sweatshop. It's made with concrete, doesn't have the right ventilation, and it crumbled and 1,000 people died. And there's many other examples of fires, of, you know, structures falling that lead to mass deaths like this. So finally, we get to potential solutions. We all know that we all need to wear clothes. It's a form of self-expression. So there's a large portion of the consumer, you know, society that wants to, you know, keep buying cheap, trendy clothes. Next trend comes out, you go and you buy that. You don't really care for having something that was last year's trend be good quality, because you're like, man, I spent so much money on this and it's not even in style anymore. You feel less bad about spending less on something that's just going to go out of style anyways. So that's that loop again. But if we can step away from that, we could all realize kind of what's going on, how it's affecting us in like the immediate ways, and in the long run, like the environmental issues, carbon emissions, the microplastics, the pollution. We can all, you know, just be more mindful and start to, you know, buy less. It also not only helps us to fix our environment, but, you know, we end up saving money in the long run, really. There's this thing called the boot theory, where if you spend a lot of money many times a year on a cheap pair of boots, on cheap pairs of boots, they wear out, you gotta buy another one, they wear out, you buy another one every couple months, you end up spending more money than if you were to have just saved up money and bought one good pair of boots that lasts you years. And it's called the boots theory. So in closing, the fast fashion industry may appear harmless because of its, you know, low price and quick trends, but the truth is that it impacts the environment and even us humans immediately. It pollutes the planet, fills landfills, and we're blind to all the harmful working conditions, living conditions that workforce is forced into. And these problems are global. You know, we're basically exploiting them as a result of being the consumers of this. So by choosing more sustainable and ethical forms of fashion, buying less of the trends and recycling clothing, we can reduce those effects of fast fashion. And if we want a future where our clothes don't come out at the expense of the planet and other people's safety, we should begin to be more responsible in the ways we enable this industry.